Well, thanks everyone for joining today for today's webinar, where we're going to go through a demo of the platform. So very excited to show you some of the new tools and some of the other things that, that we've been working on. The main use case that we're going to go through today is carrying an incident through from beginning to end. So how that data would be captured from the field, and then what you can do to interact on the web application as an administrator. So sharing that report with an external organization, depending on whether that's an insurer or whether that's occupational health or something like that. That's really the use case that we're going to go through. I understand that there definitely will be questions, and I'll do my best to address them as much as possible, but I won't be getting to any of them until the end of the walkthrough. So be sure to throw them in the chat as things come up, and I'll be sure to address those as we get to the end. So as we get started here, I just wanted to introduce a little bit about myself and about SafetyTek and our approach. So one of the things that we've adopted as our mission is to support workplace safety by simplifying mandatory processes, engaging in a positive safety culture, and reducing the carbon footprint using state-of-the-art technology. So really what we're all about at the end of the day is we realize that there are many things that you have to do, as well as things that you want to do to improve safety in your workplace. We want to make sure that we cover both. We give you tools to cover both, and we also give you the tools to keep people engaged. So a little bit about myself. I've been in the construction sector in some capacity for 8 years. Worked for the local construction association here in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. But that afforded me a lot of opportunities to tour around both nationally and within Canada, as well as internationally with different builders exchanges and organizations in the United States. So seeing how different approaches to similar problems all get tackled, touring many different construction sites and different unique opportunities and approaches to different problems, whether seeing how new construction versus existing construction and some of the monitors and controls that you might have in place. I also have project management certification, so I look at things very much through that lens and apply the same when bringing you into the SafetyTek platform. So how do we take things from beginning to end? So hopefully that experience can help collaborate with you into really creating some efficiency for your organization. So to talk a little bit about our approach here. So really what we're trying to do is engage workers first, as they're the ones who are on site and who are capturing information. And so they have a mobile device along with them in most cases, or if manufacturing different use cases, you might have tablets that you deploy, certain people that go around and inspect things. So we want that experience to be fairly seamless, quick to interact with, so that as much data as possible can be pushed through for the main administrators to interact with. So that's the second part is all about that collection and making sure that we capture everything that needs to be captured. Thirdly is viewing it online in the web platform that's optimized for administrators to interact with it. So whether you're generating reports, want to look at a specific time window, pull some history as to what's happening with the organization, as well as stay on top of all the things that are happening in real time. It's all important and all deserves your attention. And then lastly, the component is sharing. So there's some practical examples that I'll take you through in terms of sharing information. Again, the main example that we'll be going through today is incidents, but I'll also touch a little bit on training and those types of components as well. All right. So I'm going to start in our mobile application and share you my screen as it sits within there. Quick caveat, I am on my personal phone and I have the app installed on there. So I have notification snooze, but if something comes through, just be aware that it was not intentional. I tried to hide all those. So I'll just bring up that share really quick. All right. So when somebody logs in to our mobile application, there's many different things that they can do, but the main things that they'll be doing on a regular basis is filling out a form. So the main use case that I'm going through today is everything to do with employee health and safety. We have other tools you see at the top, like as it deals with COVID-19. We also have a toolbox talks deployment system where we've recorded videos and those kind of things. But for the purposes of today, we're going to stay 100% focused on everything to do with employee health and safety. So as an administrator, one of the key things for you is to have the ability to control what goes on in the field. So I'm able to restrict everything that this individual sees. And so they can then select the form that they want to fill out. Again, we're going to go through a incident example. And then I can control what job sites they have access to. So whether I keep track of that via job number, whether that's based on a GPS location, that can be all tied in. So I'm going to allocate this incident to this job. And then I also have the crews that I work on as an employee. So another way that you can stay organized. And in terms of filling out forms, we have many different tools within our form builder and many different widgets that can be added. So what we typically do when we're dealing with a new client is we'll take care of doing your first few forms and then show you exactly what we did in order to get those in the system. And then from there, we'll collaboratively work on the next few. And then from there, we'll have given you enough training that you're able to do most of the functions on your own, and absolutely you'll have an account rep that'll help you along the way. But key thing I want to note here is that attached to the majority of the widgets here is the ability to add comments as the first icon that's there. The second one is to take pictures and append those to the submission. And then the third one is to add corrective actions. So anything that needs to be dealt with on the work site, and those can all be managed and reassigned by administrators as needed. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill out all the mandatory fields that are in here. And we do have date and time widgets that we can use instead of a text field as well. We're going to say it was a slip and fall that occurred. This is also a user select widget that will tie into who is actually working on the same crew as the individual that is filling this out. And we're going to say no medical attention was required. And for the purposes of this, we're just going to put in some text. And then we can also force, if need be, a photo to be uploaded. I have made it not required for the purposes of this form. So as I hit continue, the next thing that I'm prompted for is formal sign-off, if need be. So I can add my own sign-off to the form, and that is saved in my profile, so I don't need to swipe the screen every single time. So that'll all be tied back in. And then I can add additional sign-offs. So if there are other members of your SafetyTek platform that need to be included in this form, so witnesses of an incident, very practical example, you can scan them in using a SafetyTek QR code that's assigned to their profile. So all they'd have to do is go to their profile screen, bring up that QR code, and then you can scan them in, attach them to the form. We also have a PIN system, and we also have the ability for guest sign-offs. So that comes in very practical if you're doing something like you're in a relationship as a subcontractor and you want to get someone from the general contracting firm to sign off on the information that you're filling out. You can include that. It'll prompt for a full name and email address as part of the capture. So that way you can close the loop on that whole process as well. So going a bit beyond safety into some workflow stuff as well. So then I'll go to view and submit. So everything that I've done up until this point is saved locally in the app offline, meaning that you don't need a connection to the internet or to a mobile network. You can work on a remote work site or somewhere that wouldn't have access. And then everything that you're doing is simply saved in progress. But when I hit submit, that's when the actual synchronization with the cloud environment is going to occur. So I'll just show you the folder where all of the in progress ones are stored after you hit finish here. So it's just this one right here. All right. So before we leave the mobile application, I'll take you on a tour through some of the other functions that we have built into here. And then once we pivot over to the web application, that's when I will talk about and continue with the incident example and show you all the different functions that are available to you on the web. All right, so let's kind of work our way through left to right. First, we have the assigned actions. So these are all the things that have been assigned to me. You can see I'm not doing so great. I have a lot of things that are sitting here as overdue, and I'm sure my supervisor would have typically acted upon this, messaged me something at this point, but I'll also keep track of different things that are completed and created. And I can also create a brand new action independent of a form from here as well, if I notice something on site. In the documents area, we have the same signature functionality built into documents that we do into the forms. So that way you can have people acknowledge that they do in fact understand some of the information that you have deployed to them, which is very important in terms of mandatory safety procedures, those types of things. And then anything that they have already viewed and completed is going to be stored here. And you can assign different tags to the documents for the purposes of tracking and sorting them. So whether you want to have different manuals and all those kind of things, we don't put any kind of limits in terms of the storage capacity on documents that you deploy. You can also deploy videos. So we have people using it for video orientations for subcontractors and new employees, those types of things that can all be facilitated through here. In the profile area, this is where I would find my QR code. I can manage my own password and things like that. But there are some neat tools within here as well. So if I go to the certificates area, this is where I can track all of my training. And that is controlled, again, by the administrators, what type of certificates I can actually upload. So that's the type drop-down menu here. This would be all the available certificates within the company. So then I can attach a photo, do the expiry date, all that kind of stuff. So that way, all of the burden doesn't lie on the person back at office in order to keep track of all this information. It is, however, if you want, held in a queue for approval on the admin side. So that way you can review and say, yes, in fact, they uploaded the correct information. It's the correct photo of the certificate that they need. So the whole idea is you build out a certificate wallet. So if occupational health shows up and is asking for someone to verify that they can do the scope of work that they're doing, they don't have to contact an office, go back to a vehicle. It's all there pertaining to that individual. And the last two tools that are within the mobile app here is in the top right, we have our notifications area. So whether that is reminders of forms to fill out on a daily, weekly, monthly basis for inspection purposes, those types of things, whether it's new documents that have been deployed, a new action that's been assigned to you, those can all come through as push notifications if need be as well, to make sure that the alerts are there. And then we also have messaging built in to the application. So you can deploy messages from the web application to the mobile, and I'll show you how you can sort different audiences for who you deploy those messages to. So if you need to communicate with a specific group. All right, so that about does it for the mobile app. I will keep this open in case there are any questions that we need to go back to the mobile app functionality. All right. So this is the interface for an administrator on our web app. So when you first log in, you're greeted with this main dashboard. It'll give you an overview of the organization and a news feed of things as they happen in real time. So this is the incident that has come in from the field. There's also a very convenient option within the main dashboard that's here, and that's the ability to queue forms as pending review. So I actually have job hazard assessments, the daily ones that come in. I have that all set up and configured in such a fashion that I need to view and approve those submissions before they're written to the platform, and make sure that all the actions are assigned properly, all that kind of stuff, as someone who's supervising everything that's going on. So that can be configured for any form within our system, and we have all kinds of templates that can save you work. But at the end of the day, we do all of that as part of our onboarding. You can see all kinds of different buttons along the left-hand side here, but we're going to not start there. We're going to continue with our example of an incident that has come in from site and what we're going to do next. So this was the form that was filled out. And again, I might have that pending for approval. I might have notifications that are set up, all that kind of stuff. But the important thing that I'll want to do from here is, upon looking at the incident severity and what actually happened, I might need to create a case. And so this begins to develop a report for the purposes of passing things along to whatever regulator you have in your local area. So we've built this in such a fashion that it's really designed to save work and preserve the responses that already come in from the field. So what I'll do is I'm just going to go through an existing example rather than starting with this one that came from the field, just so you can get an idea of how this incident system is designed to work. So I'm going to open this one that's here, where an unconscious employee was found. So there's all kinds of different tabs that are here for you to manage the information, but I'm going to actually work from right to left here. So you can build this report and highlight whatever responses you want to highlight in order to fulfill the requirements of your different templates and things that you need to fill out. So if I take the example of WorkSafe BC and their incident reporting, you sometimes need to do it in stages and say this is a preliminary investigation, and then we need to do a full report later. That all needs to be done within 48 hours. So we're trying to make sure the process is very quick as well. So any of the submissions that come in, you can import the responses and make sure they are highlighted and listed within the report itself. The whole idea here is I've brought in all of the different form submissions from my platform that might pertain to this incident. So I've highlighted that there was an inspection done at the beginning of the day that didn't foresee any problems with the location at all. So this is likely a one-off occurrence. Then I have the summary investigation that was done by the main observer of the incident. And then I have some additional people that have provided separate witness statements that I've appended to this as well. I have control over who in my platform is chiefly in charge of the incident, but I can, at the end of the day, have multiple people reporting on this and editing information and adding to it. And that's because we have an audit log of all the different changes that occur on this incident report. So any edits, any deletions, all that kind of stuff. So that way you don't have information reported that shouldn't be, and you can see everything as it happens. You can allocate a site location to the incident. This one didn't have one because it was back at the office. There's no crew attached because, again, it just happened to involve 3 individuals, so it wasn't actually a crew that was working. We have any of the photos and things that were taken from the forms can be brought in. So this was our unconscious employee that we found. That's a dog toy for anybody who is wondering what that is. And then this is an area for you to assign corrective actions based on this incident that occurred. So demonstrating to your regulator that you are in fact taking steps to correct what has happened so it doesn't happen again. In this particular instance, found out that first aid kits weren't present, so that could have been an issue with the fall that occurred. And then there's also a overview page that you can bring in some additional details. So we do have some other exciting things in the pipeline that we're going to add in terms of making this easier and easier, in terms of having custom fields that you'll be able to track internal information. So if you want to allocate costs to an incident or something like that for your internal notes, you're able to do things like that. That'll just be another tab on the end here. But lastly is the ability to share this externally from the platform. So this link is something that, again, I can pass on to whomever I need to up the chain in the organization. It'll in real time show the actions and whether or not they've been completed as that's happening in your platform. Again, we have the pictures, and then any of these submissions that you attach, you can view the full PDF. And then there's also a printable summary if need be as well. And just a reminder that you can highlight all of those responses in there as well. All right. So now that we've wrapped up how we report incidents in the platform, I'm just going to go through all the different functionality that is available to you. So these notifications are my personal notifications as an administrator. So if I have different tasks that are assigned to me and those kind of things. This is the messaging area. So I can choose my audience for who I'm deploying a message to. So if I wanted to pick that specific job, for example, that was being worked on by the incident that occurred and report what to do next. Maybe it's saying to stop work, those kind of things. I can report that from here. And then it'll save all the information so you can go back and track what messages and interactions were sent. You can get rate down as 1-to-1 if you need to do some disciplinary action or anything like that. Now I want to get into some incredibly exciting features that I think set us apart from a lot of other companies as it sits right now. So I'm going to turn your attention to this drop down that's in the top corner. So it isn't just one company, one instance within the platform. We can have multiple instances and multiple sections depending on how you want to control things. So let's say you wanted a separate area for subcontractors to interact with. You'd be able to have that. Let's say you're a manufacturer and installer. Those are two very different worlds and different processes. You're gonna have different staff that are in charge of taking a look and reporting. So we can keep that all very well organized within the organization, and also give you the ability to pool data back together when you're looking at reports and those kind of things, so you can get a full overview, not just of one company or one section of the company, I should say. So that's a fairly unique feature. And one of the things that we just released here is our leaderboards. So this is something that's meant to work in tandem with any kind of incentive program that you have in place in your organization. So we have all the different processes that people can do within the platform. You can control what points are assigned to completing those processes, what awards are achieved based on getting to a a certain point threshold, all those kinds of things. And then you can, within the mobile app, people can see how they compare to people on their crew. And we're going to have a point count published on the main screen for those people who have this feature enabled. And when I do say features, I mean our approach as it sits today is that it isn't about adding or taking away different pieces of functionality. We give you the entire suite, and you can use whatever tools you want within the system to enhance your program. So you're not limited to different pieces. You don't have to pay extra to have analytics or anything like that. It's all included in the platform. So to take a look at the analytics section, this is your ability to see what's going on with actions. So I can see anything that's outstanding, track the average days alive as a key performance indicator, make sure that that's trending down and we have people resolving actions that have been assigned in a timely fashion. So that's a key tool. Submissions, people will be spending a lot of time in here in terms of pulling data out. So I'm able to control what time interval I'm looking at, and then I can drill down on specific forms, specific work sites, specific crews, specific workers to see what's going on, and then export all that information. So if I needed to do a drill down on what's going on with my summary investigations for my incidents, I can see quick breakdowns of them being submitted and how often they're submitted. But this is the more important tool here, is be able to download them as bulk PDFs and then be able to export all of the responses to CSV. So that way you can use whatever other reporting tools that you are used to using, whether you have things as sophisticated as Tableau or those kind of things. We give you all of the data, all pooled together, so you can generate everything that you need to generate. Also makes that very easy at the end of the year if you're doing in the States, like your Form 300s and 301s for OSHA, you're able to get totals and those kind of things very, very quickly. And in terms of forms and their customization, I do want to jump into that quickly. So if we, for example, went into that daily job hazard assessment as an example, there's quite a few things that we can configure within here. So as I mentioned before, that approval, holding them as pending if need be. You can control who receives notifications within the organization that one of these forms has been filled out. So really important for incidents and getting that workflow going of the next person to act. You can also control the form audience. So whether it's going to be site specific or whether you have people who are managing a crew or whether it's private to a user, you can control all of that. And we have all kinds of different customizations and widgets and drag and drops that you can do that are all available. And again, that's something as part of onboarding that we would help you out with. So we definitely touched on actions, have all the same tools available within here that you do within the mobile app. Documents, one of the features that you do have within the online system here is you do have analytics as feedback of people interacting with the documents. So you can export whether people have actually viewed it and have provided that sign off on it, as well as how much time they have spent viewing it. So if you expect something to be a 5-minute read in order to understand what a new safety protocol is, well, you now have that feedback and you can use the carrot or stick approach to resolve that issue that you've identified. So a level of control you might not have had before. Site screws and users is really something that we configure as part of your setup. It's very easy to add a brand new job site. So again, whether we track this by number or something of that nature, as long as it makes sense to you. And then site location, this is tied into GPS. So you can do a full street lookup of where something is. And then you can control what crews are allowed to work on what work sites and those kind of things. In terms of how we get people into the platform, there is a unique link that's there for the company. And in fact, there's a unique link for every division within your company. And all of those we can quickly generate into a QR code. So if you want to post that on the bulletin board or something of that nature, as people as they walk by can get signed up, that's a way that we make it easy. And then you can use that direct invitation link through your internal email as well. We can also do some of the setup on our end in terms of getting users into the platform. And the last thing that I want to highlight here before we wrap up and go to questions is training. So in terms of how we set things up initially, we define those certificate types and all the different certificates that you're going to keep track of. And then if need be, we can define who needs those certificates in order to accomplish their job. So that way, when you come back to this training matrix, you can see whether or not people can be deployed in that position. So if I take a look, John can be both a service staff and a driver, and Matthew can be deployed as a service staff. So this is where you'll be able to see all of the pending approvals that you can go in and view. You're also able to, as an administrator, add and edit certificates for users. You can subscribe to expiring notifications, and you can also prove your training records to any external party. So whether that's an owner or a subcontractor to a general, that comes in very practical. So you can select off the users you want to report on and everything of that nature. And you can also look at any of the expiry information passively as well, in addition to those notifications that get sent out. So you can apply any number of days of filter based on when you know people need to be retrained. So a fairly comprehensive tool, but definitely requires some data entry at the beginning. And so that's something that, that we do as part of onboarding. All right. So that's the tour. And now we'll definitely go to questions as part of our wrap up in the last 5 minutes or so here. I know I promised to keep things at 45 minutes. So we'll see what we got for questions. So the first one that I saw posted here is, what are some of the tools available in the form builder itself in terms of those widgets? And I'd be happy to walk through that in a bit more detail here. So let's go back to here. And then we'll scroll to the bottom and go to the add widget part. as soon as this existing form gets loaded here. All right. So there's a whole bunch of widgets. We got 10 right now, but more being added all the time. So this inspection widget is the typical yes, no, not applicable that people are mostly used to when they're going through an inspection and checking things off on a piece of paper. So there's that. Titles and content are the ability to put some formatting and things within the form to make it more responsive and look better on the mobile device, so it's easier to interact with. File is a prompt to force them to get that photo in there. Question is just a text field as the answer. The selection one is quite versatile, so that allows us to do both drop-down menus as well as checkboxes, and you can force it to do a single selection or enable multiple selection. So when we were going through the incident, I forced them to pick a incident type from the list of checkboxes, and that's usually the way that most reporting organizations work. Is you do have to define the incident type, so that's a great example of when you want to make it required. This is our user selection widget. So again, bringing in who else is there, so you can tag that all off for the purposes of reporting. Multiple response is a little bit unique in that you can have a single prompt and then you can have as many other prompts that you want underneath it. So if there's a specific sequence that you want people to enter things in response to a question, there's an opportunity for you to do that. And then this is a forced date and time format that we have within there. So within all those different functions, you can build out some pretty structured forms, and it keeps the data well structured. So that way, when we spit out reports and things to you, it does what it needs to do in terms of giving you the data you need. Another question that's here is, how many administrators can you have? No limits. We don't say only 2 people can have this level of access. We configure this however you need to, and multiple number of supervisors. If you have the multiple sections approach, you can have some people who are at more the corporate level that can bounce into any single one, or individuals that just have access to their section as they just work in the manufacturing section, for example. So that's highly configurable, and there's no change in cost or anything to that. And of course, what's your pricing model? So one of the things that we've done in terms of pricing, and I kind of touched on it, is the SafetySuite, as we're calling it now, is we're saying everything that you want is included. In terms of what it costs, it does vary organization to organization, not based on the number of users, as we're able to scale, and we realize that workforces fluctuate and you shouldn't have to pay more to penalize your growth or anything like that. So it is all inclusive. The main thing that we sit down with you and work out with you is, what's the level of effort going to be on our side based on the level of sophistication of your existing safety program and some of the improvements that you want to make that we'll work with you on. So that's really the main scoping. that takes place, and what features you all need configured. So really, that is a protection for us as the minimal point, but it protects you in that you're able to get as much and can extract as much value out of this platform as humanly possible. So that's our approach. We sit down and we come up with a proposal for everyone, and so I'd be happy to chat with anyone on a one-on-one basis. I like to take people's existing forms as part of a walkthrough and show them how it might show up on our platform. So that's something that we can definitely do in a one-on-one. All right. Well, thank you to everyone who attended today, and I'm sure that we'll be using this video in the future. The recording will be available. It does take a little while to compile as it is a large file, but we'll get that out to you as soon as it is available on the platform here. You can stay tuned to some updates from us. I'd be happy to sit down with anyone who attended one-on-one for some further discussion. And thanks very much for joining us. Take care.